What's up, nerds? I'm Kandruk, your not-so-friendly neighborhood otaku, and welcome to my channel where I talk all things anime, manga, manhwa, and webcomics. If that's the type of thing you're into, then subscribe because I'll put 2 to 3 shorts of anime commentary out every week from Monday to Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard, and 1 full video out every week, also at 1 p.m. Today, I'm going to be continuing the series where I go back and reread the Jujutsu Kaisen manga over from the beginning and bring you all along with me. As always, this series is great for anyone who's a first-time JJK fan, anime only, or who wants to get caught up. So, without further ado, let's dive into Volume 13. In Chapter 107, Dagon creates a spear of water from his finger and unleashes that water as a furious current that floods the area. Maki stabs her spear into one of the pillars and stands on it to avoid this current. She's shocked by the pure volume of water the curse is outputting, far outclassing Megami's max elephant. However, much of the water that comes Naobito's way is trapped within projection frames by his curse technique. Then Naobito asks the cursed spirit if he knows how many projection frames are within 1 second of an animated sequence. Rather than answering, Dagon reveals his name, demanding to be addressed as such. Naobito ignores him and says that everything these days is about resolution and wanting to increase frame rates. Dagon yells that his allies have names too, distracted by the conversation. While distracted, Nanami gets above Dagon and strikes using his ratio technique. Dagon appears to block it, but he's sent crashing into the ground. Then Maki attempts to follow up with her own attack, but Dagon grabs the blade of her curse tool. Before he counterattacks, Naobito traps him inside a frame, and Nanami dives down and strikes him out of it. Dagon is able to protect himself from Nanami this time by generating a whirling shield of water that circles around him. Frustrated, Nanami knows they're dealing damage, but it feels like their opponent has boundless HP. Naobito's impressed that 2 grade 1 sorcerers aren't enough to exorcise the cursed spirit, and Maki laments being saved by Naobito, humiliated by the fact that she would have died if he didn't use his technique. Naobito playfully slaps Dagon's shield of water and commends him for being able to fend off multiple simultaneous curse techniques. He recognizes Dagon has massive amounts of cursed energy and likely more techniques up his sleeve. So, to counter, Naobito claims they'll crush him with speed before he has the opportunity to activate any more moves. Naobito, Nanami, and Maki attack Dagon's water shield as fast as they can in rapid succession. Each of them gradually begin to pierce it until Naobito's fist breaks through completely. Before he's hit, Dagon explodes the water as a distraction, then levitates above Nanami and Maki. However, Naobito appears behind Dagon, saying he foresaw the curse, attempting to flee up high. He kicks Dagon to the ground and follows up with a brutal onslaught of blows that Dagon can't keep up with. He admits the old man is the problem in this battle and that he's even faster than Jogo. Dagon attempts to form a hand sign, but Naobito unleashes a fury of rapid-fire punches that pound Dagon into the ground. Despite his best efforts, though, a seal forms on Dagon's stomach, allowing him to cast domain expansion. In an instant, Dagon disappears, and Naobito is trapped in a coastal domain looking out at the sea. In Chapter 108, Dagon traps Nanami, Naobito, and Maki inside his domain expansion, Horizon of the Captivating Skanda. Inside this coastal domain, Nanami and Maki are both suddenly bitten by piranha shikigami. The domain's guaranteed hit creates fish shikigami that don't exist until they hit the target. However, Naobito is easily able to counter the domain's can't miss attack with his secret art, Falling Blossom Emotion, which is an anti-domain technique passed down by the big 3 sorcerer families. Unlike how simple domain expands on its own, Falling Blossom Emotion counterattacks with cursed energy the moment domain's guaranteed hit makes contact. With this, Dagon decides to focus 70% of his power on Naobito and the other 30% on Nanami, unleashing technique-released Death Swarm, which calls upon a swarm of shikigami to attack his opponents. Knowing the shikigami will instantly eat them alive, Nanami warns Maki to attack without hesitation. But his warning is interrupted when a shikigami abruptly appears to devour him first. Naobito resists the wave of shikigami using Falling Blossom Emotion, but he still recognizes the situation isn't slowing down and wonders if the technique is connected to the domain. His thoughts are abruptly stopped when Dagon hides in the stream of shikigami and punches Naobito high into the sky. The shikigami were blocking Naobito's view, and they continue to attack while he's still in the air. Dagon reveals that Death Swarm is an endless stream of shikigami as more and more appear to attack Naobito. Maki is also bitten by a few shikigami, leaving her unable to move or fight back. After handling Nanami and Naobito, Dagon turns to Maki and says she's the weakest one here. He quickly gets behind Maki and kicks her hard into the forested area on the beach. Maki survives and tells the octopus to finish her off in one hit if he's going to insult her strength. As Maki wishes she met up with Megami first, Dagon threatens to give her the same fate as the other 2 if she continues to resist. Suddenly, Domain Expansion Chimera Shadow Garden is activated. A geyser of liquid shadows erupt from the ocean near the beach, getting Dagon and Maki's attention. Megami appears from this geyser right on time and calls out to Maki. He then extends his shadow out to her, allowing Maki to grab the special grade curse tool Playful Cloud. Grateful for the help, Maki tells Megami that he really is a cocky brat. In Chapter 109, a twister of Megami shadows erupt from the ocean on the horizon of Dagon's domain. Megami immediately realizes the octopus-like curse is the master of the domain, and Dagon believes he's foolish for voluntarily entering a domain. While Dagon prepares to attack Megami, Maki quickly attacks Dagon with the special grade curse tool Playful Cloud, striking a chunk out of the cursed spirit's arm. While Dagon's surprised that he was actually injured, Maki follows up with another blow that sends Dagon skidding across the water. He recovers from the attack and realizes that his guaranteed hit has been nullified because Megami expanded his own domain. Essentially, they're locked in a domain tug-of-war, and Dagon decides it's best to crush Megami. The cursed spirit spawns fish Shikigami from his body and sends them swimming through the water towards Megami. But to Megami's surprise, Nanami jumps in and slices the fish apart. After asking about Yuji and Takuma, Nanami tells Megami to focus on maintaining the domain. He'll protect him. Dagon's shocked that Nanami withstood Death Swarm for about a minute, when suddenly Naobito appears behind him and attacks with blinding speed. Dagon ducks to avoid the attack and is equally surprised that Naobito survived as well. Then Maki attempts to attack from behind, but Dagon spawns two large eel-like Shikigami to repel the sorcerers. Naobito traps the one attacking him in a frame and crushes it with a powerful stomp. Maki defends herself as well, and they stand on both sides of Dagon. Meanwhile, Nanami continues defending Megami, but the young sorcerer is reaching his limit. Then Megami reveals that he's actually trying to open a hole in the domain's barrier rather than engaging in a domain battle. Dagon likely can't cast two domains in the same day, so if the sorcerers can escape, they can win. After clarifying that Megami isn't planning to throw his life away, Nanami calls out to the Zenins and tells them to assemble. They put their trust in Nanami's words and all rush towards Megami. Dagon's confused for a moment, but he quickly figures out their plan. He panics and rushes to stop them, but it's too late, as a hole appears in the ground below Megami that leads to outside the barrier. Everyone assembles in time to escape, but something unexpected happens. Before the sorcerers can exit the domain, Toji suddenly enters through the hole, and they're forced to bear witness to the one who is truly free, his overwhelming intensity. In chapter 110, Toji makes his way into Dagon's domain through the hole Megami made in the barrier. Megami questions who the man is, Maki notes he's a human jujutsu sorcerer, and Dagon questions why they let someone in the domain rather than escaping. Suddenly, with blinding speed, Toji grabs onto Playful Cloud, and Maki notices his intense strength. Toji easily snatches the cursed tool from Maki, throwing her aside. Maki didn't notice any cursed energy, so she's shocked that she lost in a battle of pure strength. Then, Megami reveals that the hole he opened in the barrier has closed, and it won't easily open again. Naobito is the only one among them who recognizes Toji, and upon uttering his name, Naobito notices the sclera of Toji's eyes have gone completely black. Though Granny Ogami's seance technique has the ability to continue on after her death, it was never meant to last forever. The technique is supposed to end when the host's cursed energy runs out. However, Ogami's grandson's soul did not possess cursed energy, and Toji's body that overrode it doesn't consume cursed energy. Therefore, there's no signal for the seance to end, and now it has run rampant. Toji can only fight completely on instinct until the vessel breaks. Essentially, he's become a puppet of carnage, baring his fangs at the strongest around. When Toji prepares to fight the cursed spirit with Playful Cloud, Dagon notices he doesn't have any cursed energy, saying he's a waste of time. Dagon summons a Shikigami to attack Toji, but he obliterates it with a single swing. Toji follows up with a barrage of strikes, injures Dagon's head, and sends him flying back. Surprised, Dagon recognizes that he grossly underestimated Toji's speed and power. He tries to summon a swarm of numerous smaller Shikigami to attack, but Toji keeps getting faster. While running on the water like it's nothing, Toji effortlessly rushes through all of the fish, striking them apart with his cursed tool on his way to attack Dagon. Dagon then summons his hardest and most powerful Shikigami to repel Toji, but they're taken out just as easily as the rest. We then learn that Playful Cloud is the only special grade cursed tool without an imbued cursed technique. It is pure and solid power that depends entirely on the wielder's strength. In Toji's hands, he annihilates Dagon's water shield in a single blow, slamming the curse's head violently into the sand. Dumbfounded by Toji's domination, Maki can only watch on in amazement. She asks Naobito who that man is, but he says Toji is just a ghost. Then Nanami tells Megami to hold on to his domain for just a little longer because they're going to need to bet on Toji. Rubbing Playful Cloud together to sharpen its shape, Toji creates a loud noise that irritates everyone. Injured, Dagon barely stands up and comes to the realization that he's about to lose to a human without cursed energy. Dagon attempts to buy time until Megami's domain runs out by levitating in the air, but once again Naobito leaps on top of Dagon's head and stops his progress. Then Toji stacks the three sections of Playful Cloud on top of each other to vault himself towards Dagon. The curse puts his guard up, but Toji stabs clean through Dagon's face. In chapter 111, Toji pierces Dagon's face, stabbing him clean through the head with the sharpened Playful Cloud. Dagon believes he could still fight, but Toji brutally stabs him in the eye as well. Then he breaks the chain connecting the three-section staff and rapidly uses both sharpened sides to obliterate Dagon. The domain is dispelled, and Maki is shocked that one lone fighter was able to exercise such a powerful cursed spirit single-handedly. Megami's exhausted from holding his domain for so long, and it takes him a moment to catch his breath. Nanami knows if Megami didn't show up, they all would have been killed, but now they have a new problem. After taking Dagon out, Toji will target the next strongest. Toji, still fighting on instinct as a puppet of carnage, advantage, attacking the strongest around. Megumi may be exhausted, but he's by far the least injured. So Toji drags him outside the station in an instant, breaking through the corridor window. Before Megumi can even process what's happening, he finds himself outside on the road. With a surprised expression, Megumi notes that Toji's ridiculous level of speed may even surpass Sukuna's. Maki yells out a concern for Megumi. She's interrupted by a new presence behind her. Jogo arrives to mourn Dagon, picking up his exercised ashes and bidding him farewell. Heavily injured, Naobito and Nanami find it unfair that immediately after fighting Dagon, they're faced with a new curse that far surpasses him. Jogo tells Dagon to leave the rest to him, that he looks forward to their reunion in the wastelands 100 years in the future. Then Jogo looks over his shoulder with a menacing glare that fills the room with malice. Within a second, Jogo's placed his palm on Nanami's waist. He says, "That's one," and blasts Nanami with an explosive wave of cursed flames. Before Maki can even yell out Nanami's name in concern, Jogo lights her aflame as well. He then prepares to claim his third victim, but Naobito gets behind Jogo, prizing the curse with his speed. Naobito's innate technique, projection sorcery, divides a single second into 24 frames, uses his field of view as the projection's angle of view. By doing so, Naobito can trace a predetermined set of movements to perform within those 24 frames. Anything touched by Naobito's palm must abide by the 24 frames per second rule while moving, or else they'll be frozen inside an animated frame for 1 second. The predetermined set of movements cannot be adjusted once started, and its trajectory cannot excessively ignore the laws of physics. Naobito was born with a natural sense of strategic timing and movement, so much so he was deemed the fastest sorcerer excluding Gojo. That being said, this is when Naobito still had both arms. Suddenly, two small volcanic openings appear behind Naobito. He can't avoid the crossing heat waves in time and is heavily burnt by Jogo's technique. Then Jogo says that's 3, preparing to finish Naobito off. But before he does, Sukuna's strong presence gives Jogo chills and immediately grabs his attention. He surmises a finger has been released somewhere nearby and goes off to look for it. Meanwhile, Nanako and Mimiko find Yuji's unconscious body in the aftermath of his fight with Choso. They force feed him one of Sukuna's fingers, and Jogo finds them soon after. Annoyed, he demands to know how many of Sukuna's fingers they fed him, and the girls flee using Nanako's curse technique. While Sukuna's marks still remain on Yuji's face, Jogo decides to make the best of the situation. Previously, Pseudo-Geto informed Jogo that if Yuji ate 1 finger a day for 20 days, he probably wouldn't lose control of his body to Sukuna despite devouring all 20 fingers. But feeding him 10 fingers at once may force him to temporarily lose control. So Jogo takes out a scroll of 10 Sukuna fingers and tells the King of Curses it's time to wake up. In chapter 112, Jogo finishes force-feeding 10 of Sukuna's fingers to Yuji. He believes Yuji has consumed 15 of Sukuna's fingers overall, but this train of thought is interrupted by the sound of a cough. Jogo looks over to see that Mimiko and Nanako are still alive, but they weren't able to escape the station. He notices their faces indicate they're afraid and suspects they likely can't use another curse technique to escape harm's way. Jogo's so focused on the curse users, he doesn't even realize his hand holding Yuji's face has been severed. Jogo and the girls are both shocked as an ominous voice demands Jogo move within 1 second. He darts away to position himself next to the Hasaba sisters. They're all nervous and sweating from the King of Curses' overwhelming presence. Jogo notices that in comparison to Gojo, Sukuna's aura is filled with an overwhelming malice, and Nanako believes even one movement will result in instant death. She tells herself to just breathe, but she's unsure if even that's safe. Sukuna faces them and says they're holding their heads a little too high to be standing before him. The girls prostrate themselves and Jogo gets down on one knee, noting his body moved on its own. But he's not low enough. Sukuna's technique creates a gash in the wall behind the trio that cuts off the top of Jogo's head. Cursed spirit begins bleeding profusely and Sukuna tells him that one knee is still too high. Then Sukuna walks up to the girls and asks if there's anything they want to ask him. Nanako uses the chance to ask Sukuna if he can free Geto by killing the person inhabiting his body. Nanako and Mimiko love Geto and will never forgive Gojo for killing him. But since Gojo is his one and only best friend, they're fine with allowing him to exist, but want Pseudo-Geto to die and regret what he's done. Nanako claims to know where another finger is and tries using that as a bargaining chip in return for Sukuna's help. Sukuna tells the girls to raise their head and gives them a smirk. Then he severs Mimiko's head in a violent fashion. Displeased, Sukuna asks if Nanako thought she could order him around for a few fingers. Desperate for revenge, Nanako aims her cell phone's camera at Sukuna and attempts to activate her innate technique. But Sukuna activates his first and slices the top of Nanako's head clean off. He follows up by dismantling her entire body into tiny cubes, slicing her into nothing but a gruesome spray of blood. Sukuna catches Nanako's foam and surmises that the camera is connected to her curse technique. He guesses it must be related to photographic manipulation and judges this as a boring technique. Sukuna says Jogo is next and asks what he needs. However, Jogo claims he doesn't need anything, confusing Sukuna. Jogo clarifies his objective is simply to fully revive Sukuna, and he implores Sukuna to make a binding vow that will allow him to take over Yuji's body, permanently using his friends as leverage. Sukuna refuses, saying it's not necessary and that he has his own plans. But amused by the curse spirit's desperation, Sukuna offers a token of his appreciation for the 10 fingers. He challenges Jogo to land even one hit on him in a fight. If Jogo can achieve this, Sukuna will agree to work with his group for now, and kill every human in Shibuya except one. In chapter 113, the streets of Shibuya are much emptier than earlier in the incident thanks to Inumaki's efforts. With civilians and transfigured humans gone, Megami can focus on the opponent in front of him. Megami tries to visualize himself winning, but Toji is far too much of a monster to even fathom defeating. When Megami activates Rapid Escape, both fighters notice Sukuna's presence suddenly appear in Shibuya. Megami uses the torrents of rabbits as a distraction to create distance from Toji, then summons Toad. Toji instinctively charges into the swarm of rabbits, nearly stabs Megami with Playful Cloud, but Megami dives onto the ground, avoiding it, surprising Toji. Megami's sole advantage is that Shoko is stationed somewhere in Shibuya. 10:51 p.m., Shoko waits in a tent at a toll gate, the Metropolitan Expressway being guarded by Principal Yaga and his cursed corpses. Shoko tells him to join the fight, but he refuses, claiming that she's extremely crucial to this operation. So much so that the enemy would undoubtedly head straight to their location if they knew Shoko was in Shibuya. If not for her, Ijichi and Takuma would have perished. She says that's only thanks to Yaga's quick thinking. Meanwhile, Toji chases after Megami and nearly stabs him from behind. Toad's tongue pulls Megami down an alleyway to avoid the attack at the last moment. Megami knows that Toji made short work of a special grade cursed spirit, so his Shikigami are no match for him. He needs to focus on sacrificing his body rather than his Shikigami. Decides it's best to limit his injuries to something Shoko can quickly handle. Toji stands at the end of the alleyway. Megami knows he has to predict his opponent's timing because of his speed and understands that any flaw in timing will result in death. Toji suddenly blitzes Megami and nearly stabs him again, but his foot is submerged inside Megami's shadow. This throws off the trajectory of Toji's attack, preventing a fatal injury. Megami then summons a sword from his shadow and attempts to stab Toji while he has a hold of him. However, Toji disappears in an instant, somehow avoiding it despite being at point-blank range. Megami believes he's out of options when Toji suddenly recalls a memory from the past. It was the time when Toji met with Naobito to sell Megami to the Zenin family. Toji believed Megami had potential and could make something of himself in the Zenin family. While Toji never fit in, he thought it would be the best way to take care of Megami in the long run. After not speaking a word since they met, Toji suddenly asks Megami what his name is. After Megami answers Fushiguro, Toji stabs himself in the head, killing his vessel in order to save his son from his mindless rampage. In chapter 114, Megami kneels down to examine the body of his deceased opponent and realizes that his face has changed back to Ogami's grandson. Megami thinks about what transpired, with Naobito shocked to see Toji and Toji being glad he's not a Zenin. However, Megami's still injured from the fight and decides he needs to go see Shoko as soon as possible. He reminds himself to check on Maki and her team first when suddenly Haruta attacks him from behind. Haruta's nose and teeth are still broken from his fight with Nanami, but he's alive and moving. He's excited to be back, attacking people who can't defend themselves, admitting he's better suited for that type of combat. Meanwhile, the Kusakabe team wanders aimlessly around Shibuya, and by 11:01 p.m. they're in front of the Shibuya stream checking out random buildings. Panda implores his teacher to hurry up and find Gojo, but Kusakabe keeps finding excuses to keep Panda's urgency at bay. Kusakabe doesn't want to die fighting special grades, so he's trying to buy time. With the number of people thinning out, Panda's nose will become sharper and potentially lead them to B5F, despite his horrible sense of direction. The platform is literally around the corner from where they are, but Kusakabe is determined to waste time pretending they're lost after entering the Shin Minami entrance. Then the Kusakabe team is interrupted by the appearance of two curse users, Minami Suda and Toshihisa Negi. Negi tells them to give up because he doesn't want to kill other sorcerers, but Kusakabe relishes the opportunity to fight other sorcerers, knowing it'll buy them time. He asks for the curse users' motivation, and Suda reveals they inherited Geto's will. She and Negi intend on helping Surogero despite Mimiko and Nanako's disapproval. The remains of the Geto family had a falling out because the two girls wanted to kill Surogero, while Negi and Suda wanted to help him. So they agreed to go their separate ways. At the conclusion of Suda's story, she asked if Kusakabe surrenders. Kusakabe's disappointed the story finished so quickly, but he's happy the situation will buy him time fighting sorcerers instead of special grade curses. Kusakabe then activates new shadow style, Evening Moon Sword Drawing. Negi takes that as his answer and begins activating a technique of his own. However, their fight is quickly interrupted by an explosion that detonates an entire building behind Negi, surprising all the sorcerers. This is a result of the battle between Sukuna and Jogo. Sukuna pummels Jogo in the air, absolutely dominating their fight. As Jogo falls injured with blood spilling out of his mouth, Sukuna asks if that's all he's got. In chapter 115, the final chapter in this volume, Sukuna smacks Jogo across the air, dominating him in their fight. He asks the curse spirit if that's all he's got, and Jogo replies not yet. Jogo prepares a fire attack by concentrating flames between his palms, but Sukuna uses his innate technique to slash Jogo's arms apart. Sukuna then smashes Jogo's head in with a violent hammer fist. The impact sends Jogo crashing towards the ground. Sukuna catches up with him, smashes his face directly into the top of a building. Sukuna and Jogo crash through all the floors of the skyscraper, leaving Jogo severely injured. As the moonlight pours through the broken roof of the building, Sukuna looks down on Jogo and says the moonlight's illumination makes it easier to see how pathetic he is. As Jogo struggles to regenerate his dismantled jaw among other injuries, we call Geto, telling him his strength is comparable to Sukuna with 8 or 9 fingers. Despite knowing he'd be outmatched, Jogo thinks to himself that he didn't expect the difference in their strength to be this great. Then Sukuna appears behind Jogo, surprising him and interrupting his train of thought. King of Curses grabs Jogo's collar and lifts him up as he tells him he'll keep going until he's bored. Then flames erupt from all holes in the building and Sukuna escapes out onto the street. Jogo follows him, attacking with his strongest technique, Maximum Meteor. Meanwhile, the Kusakabe team and the curse users around them notice the ongoing battle nearby. Kusakabe and Panda attempt to flee in the confusion but are intercepted by Negi and Suda's henchmen. Suda tells the underlings they don't have time to fight, but Kusakabe quickly cuts them down. With new Shadow Style Bato sword drawing, Kusakabe tells the remaining curse users they need to flee and get away from the fighting special grade, comparing them to elephants tap dancing on ants. However, Sukuna appears next to Kusakabe in an instant, says he won't allow any humans to run. Sukuna declares that all humans in the vicinity aren't allowed to move until he says so, or else he'll kill them. All the sorcerers are forced to watch as Maximum Meteor follows Sukuna, draws closer to killing them all. A few moments later, Sukuna finally lets them run, clapping with a playful smile as the signal. At that moment, Maximum Meteor crashes into Shibuya, decimating the area. Tired from unleashing his maximum technique, Jogo stands on top of Maximum Meteor, huffing for air. After catching his breath, Jogo smiles and says even an attack that powerful must have injured Sukuna. However, Sukuna's voice tells him that would be the case if he hit him. Sukuna appears sitting behind Jogo and asks why he didn't use domain expansion. Jogo admits that he would lose in a domain struggle against him, and Sukuna believes his lack of confidence stems from losing to Gojo. Entertained, Sukuna stands up and suggests he begins fighting using Jogo's specialty. Sukuna commands something we can't interpret to open, allowing him to manipulate flames. Jogo's confused, prompting Sukuna to realize a cursed spirit wouldn't understand this technique. Then Sukuna tells Jogo to get ready for a fire battle. And that is everything in volume 13 of Jujutsu Kaisen. As always, for those of you who made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching. I personally love doing these rereads and recaps because they really help me better understand what is happening in Jujutsu Kaisen, and I hope they do the same for you. That is all for today though, and I will see you next time.